Hi guys, a very warm welcome, and in this video I'm going to conduct a demo on the database services, and primarily I will be starting with the RDS, that is the relational database service. So let's look into it. I have logged in into the AWS console. You can see my screen into my account, and I am in the Oregon region. Now from here I need to open up the RDS service. I can open from the recently visited services. Otherwise, we can search for the RDS here and click on the RDS Manage Relational Database Service. Once the RDS is open, or once the RDS dashboard is open, then I'm going to create a database instance primarily for a free tier option, and that would be the MySQL database instance. So here you can see that the database dashboard is open now. And what we need to do is, when we work on the RDS, we have to create a database instance. So we just have to click on the database instances here and click on create a database. Now we need to select some parameters related to databases. Do we want standard create of a database, or do we want an easy create of a database? It is recommended to use a standard create. The reason is because you can customize the requirement based on you can customize the things based on your requirement. Easy create is recommended based on the best practice configurations. However, some configurations can be changed after the database is created with the help of an easy create. So we'll stick to standard create, and the first thing when we have to create a database instance is we have to select the database engines. You can see that we have a couple of database engines that are available. We have Aurora MySQL, Aurora PostgreSQL, MySQL only, which is an open source purchased by Oracle now, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle database, and the Microsoft SQL Server, or the MS SQL. Now guys, earlier or few months back, Aurora database engine was one. It was not bifurcated in MySQL and the PostgreSQL. But now AWS offers Aurora as a MySQL compatible database engine as well as the Postgres compatible database engine. Out of all these database engines, Aurora database engine is the Amazon's customized database engine. MySQL, Postgres, and the MariaDB, they are the open source database engines. And the Oracle and the Microsoft SQL Server, they are the enterprise related database engines. So make sure that when you practice on the database instance, always select a free tier option, because RDS is a very expensive service. So what I'm going to do, I'll select MySQL as of now, the MySQL database engine, and I'm going to select a template which is the free tier one. If you are working in the production environment, you can select a production template, and in this you would get a high availability creation, active standby kind of a creation. You can also have a read replica. Either you can go with development and the testing environment also, but the free tier option gives you an option to create a database instance for 750 hours free throughout the month. So select a free tier option, and since it's a free tier option, so couple of features are disabled specifically related to availability and the durability of the database instance. Now you need to provide the username to the database instance. We'll keep it as admin only as of now. And then you need to provide the password. Make sure that you remember the password, because with this user credentials, we are going to connect to the database instance from the remote client machine. So I'm going to put the database password of my choice, and then I'm going to confirm the master password also. Then we need to select an instance configuration, what type of a server or a machine that we want to create. You can go with standard class, memory optimized, but since these options are not available in the free tier, so we are going for a burstable classes that includes t3.micro. You can go with t2.micro also. Both are free tier options available. In the storage, how much storage capacity will be allocated to the database instance? That depends. You can add the storage as much as you want. You can go till 6 TB of capacity maximum in this particular class of a database instance. But the minimum storage capacity you have to keep it till 20 GB. So we'll keep it till 20 GB. Now it also asks you, do you want the storage auto scaling enabled? You can do that, and you can specify the maximum storage threshold also. This way, if the storage capacity is about to be completed, or the storage capacity is about to be means you are out of storage capacity for your database instance, then it will increase automatically in the vertical scaling format, and this will be managed by the AWS auto scaling feature. So we'll just uncheck this option. We don't want the auto scaling as of now. Now it asks you the connectivity. How do you want your database instance to be connected? So it says don't connect to an EC2 compute resource or connect to an EC2 compute resource. You can set up a connection to a specific EC2 instance also. So when you select connect to an EC2 compute resource, then you need to select an instance through which you want to connect to this database instance. So right now I'm not going to set up any connection. We just keep it don't connect to an EC2 compute resource. Now you can create a database instance in the default VPC also, in the non-default VPC also. It's up to you. It's your choice. So I'm going to keep or create this instance in the default VPC format. In the database subnet groups, let's say if you create a high availability zone or high read replica kind of a database instance, then it is advisable that you create the database instance in different availability zones. But right now we are just creating a single instance, so it doesn't matter. Do you want to assign the public access to the database instance? It is up to you. By default, the recommendation of an AWS is that you should not provide the public access to your database instance because of the security reasons, and we don't require it also. The reason is because we will be connecting to the database instance from the EC2 itself. Security group of the firewall or security group of the database instance, we will keep it default because we need to open up the ports for our instance also, for the database instance also. So either you want a new security group specifically for your database instance, you can create it. You can just click on create a new VPC security group. Otherwise, you can select an existing security group of your choice as well. It is advisable that you should create a new and a separate security group for your database instance. In the availability zone, I'll just prefer US West 2A so that my instance gets created in this particular availability zone only. But if you want, you can select any other availability zone, or if you do not select any availability zone also, it will be created in any random zone. RDS proxy, we'll just keep it as it is, and it is also used for providing the higher security for your database instances. Now, how do you want your database authentication to be done? How do you want your database to be connected from the client application? So we want using a password authentication, and that's the reason we have provided the master username and the password for our instance. However, you can also have a database authentication based on your IAM credentials also, and likewise Kerberos authentication also you can implement. That adds more security to log in on your database instance. Coming to the monitoring part, if you enable the enhanced monitoring, then the CloudWatch is going to give you more detailed, in-depth monitoring metrics that you can actually analyze, but definitely it is going to be chargeable as well. Likewise, you can go with some additional configurations, like you can specify the database parameter groups, you can enable the automated backups also, and when you enable the automated backups, automatically the AWS is going to create the backups, and you can retain the backups also till the database instance is running. Maximum retention of a backup is 35 days, and whatever the backup retention period you set up here, After that, the specific backup will be purged and deleted. You can even specify the backup window also, like you can select no preference or choose a window. Similarly, you can actually enable the encryption as well. So when you enable the encryption, whatever the data that is written on the database instance, that will be in the encrypted format. So I'm just going to uncheck this option. We don't require encryption, we don't require backup, we just want to minimize the cost as much as possible. From the log exports, you can specify what type of logs that you want to export it to the CloudWatch logs. What would happen, let's say if I select on audit logs, so all the audit related logs will be sent to the CloudWatch service. Similarly, if I select error logs, all the errors on the database instance, that would be sent to the CloudWatch logs. Similarly, general logs, and if there are any slow query logs, if your database instance is not performing properly or its queries, it is having a slow query, connection is a problem, all those kind of logs would be again sent to the CloudWatch logs, and then you can do the detailed analysis and do the troubleshooting as well. You can also select all the logs, and whatever the logs that you want, you can specify them, and accordingly the log report will be generated in the CloudWatch log service. Coming to the maintenance, if you enable this option, enable auto minor version upgrade, so if there are any new minor versions or there are new releases for this particular database engine that are available with AWS, they are going to update them on your database instance, and you can specify the window, when do you want the upgrades should be happening. And if you uncheck this option, otherwise if you uncheck this option, the AWS is not going to do any kind of an upgrade. Deletion protection. So if I select enable deletion protection, this way it would prevent your instance from accidental termination. The delete option on the instance will be grayed out, and if you want to delete your instance, first of all you have to edit your database instance, uncheck this option, and then only you will be able to delete it. So if you look into the estimated monthly cost, it gives that it lies in the free tier option till 12 months, and you can run it without any additional cost. Just click on create a database, and you would see that the database instance would be created here, and it takes a couple of minutes to get the database instance created. Meanwhile, I'll create one EC2 instance, and from that EC2 instance we'll try to connect on this database instance with the MySQL client application. Hi guys, so I have created one database client instance, and I've used the Ubuntu operating system AMI, and I'll install the MySQL client on this particular server, and from there we'll try to connect to the database instance on the RDS. So here you can see I'm just going to connect to my DB client instance. The default username is going to be Ubuntu. Click on connect, and let's wait for the connectivity. So here you can see that I have connected to the Ubuntu instance, and if I try to connect to MySQL, or if I type a command mysql-h also, it will show me that the MySQL client is not installed on this system. See guys, this is an instance which has the Ubuntu operating system, but it does not have any kind of a client application, and without a client application I cannot connect to the MySQL database instance. So what I require is I need to install the MySQL client on this database instance so that I can connect to the RDS database instance. And the command to install the MySQL client on this particular instance is sudo apt install mysql-client-core -8.0. So we'll just copy that, paste it, and run it. It says I'm not able to install the MySQL client on the server. The reason is because the server or this operating system is not updated. So what we need to do, first we need to run an update, and then only we'll be able to install the MySQL client. So I'm just going to update the server, the system, and the command is sudo apt get update. Execute it, and now you can see that my instance, my Ubuntu operating system is going to be updated, and after that we'll be able to install the MySQL client on this server. Let's wait for it to complete. So updates are done on this instance. Now I'm going to repeat the apt install mysql client core -8.0 command, and then now you can see that it's installing the mysql client on this system. The MySQL client is installed on the system, and now we can connect to the MySQL database instance. So a couple of things that we need to make sure that we have them in proper place. So let's look into what are those. And here you can see that what we are trying to achieve is, let's say this is my database instance on RDS, and I have one EC2 instance from the compute service. So on this EC2 instance, I have the MySQL client who is going to connect to the MySQL database instance. So what it needs to do is, when I send a connection request to the database instance, I need to ensure that the security group on the database instance has the ports open. So the reason is because on this database instance we have added, or we have created, a security group. So we need to ensure that the database instance security group, the inbound port specifically for MySQL database instance, should be opened for the private IP of the EC2 instance from where the request is coming. For a security purpose, we should not open up the database instance security group for all the traffic from the internet. We just have to open up the port for the IP address from where we are expecting the connection request. And how we can do that? We have to go to the database instance, identify the security group, and then in the inbound rules we need to open up the ports. So let's see how we can change the ports on the database instance. So I'll move to the AWS RDS service. This is our database instance. Just click on it, and then let's identify the security group for this instance. Here you can find, this is the default security group that we have attached to the database instance. I'll open it up in a different tab, and then in its inbound rule I'm going to open up the MySQL port. So this is a default security group that I attached to the database instance. Just click on the inbound rules, click on edit inbound rule, and here you can see so many ports are open because it's a default security group. So here already MySQL port is opened for every traffic from the internet. So we have to delete it. We don't want to go with this type of a rule. Instead we'll customize it. So I'll add a rule. I'll select the MySQL port, search for it. Here it is. And the IP address I'm going to select is going to be my instance private IP, which is 172.31.20.161. So it is going to be 172.31. Let's identify it again. .20.161. 172.31.20.161, and it is going to be /32 because it's a single IP from where the request is being sent. So this makes our database instance more secure, and click on save rules. Now what I'm going to do is, I'll just open up a notepad. I'm going to write a command through which we are going to, and that command we will put it on our MySQL client application, and we will try to jump into the database instance. The command is mysql -h, and then here we need to put the endpoint ID or the URL of the database instance. So I'll identify the endpoint URL. Move to the RDS, connect your, click on your database instance, look for the endpoint, copy it, and paste it here. Then -u, U stands for username. The username is admin. We have provided the username while creating the database instance. -p, p belongs to password. So copy this command and then paste it on your EC2 instance, connect here. Enter it. So now it will ask you, okay, enter the password of your database, and the password I'm going to put it, the master password that we provided. It says the password is not correct. Let me add it again. And here you can see I have now connected to the MySQL database, which is the RDS database instance that I'm running. And if you type a command show databases, and it will give you some already defined tables and the schema. Now what you need is you require the MySQL understanding through which you can add up a new table, also add the entries. All of them will be written in the RDS database instance. You can optimize your applications also with from your instance with the database. So that was with respect to the RDS working, guys. Thank you for watching.